the former governor of Minnesota, Tim Pawlenty. We could talk about former President Trump in a couple of minutes, Governor Pawlenty, and it's good to see you. Thanks for coming on the show. But let me start with President Biden. The speech in Arizona, as I said, he's going to be talking in these broad strokes about democracy. It appears the strategy of the Biden campaign, no surprise, is to say President Trump is a threat, that he's dangerous. Does that work politically, do you think, in this environment?
Well, I do think whether you're Republican, Democrat, pro-Biden, pro-Trump, or something else, or neither, we should all be concerned about threats to democracy. These institutions are more fragile than most Americans think, and they can break.
Is President Trump a threat to democracy, in your view?
I think when you throw around allegations that the election was rigged and fraudulent, and you can't back it up with evidence and prove that in a court of law, and 60-plus cases were brought, many of them decided by Trump judges, and in the end, there was no material evidence established that the elections were rigged or fraudulent. And when you make those kind of claims and you can't back them up, that does begin to erode people's trust in democratic institutions, you bet.
Now, as all of that is happening, you know, the campaign is underway to some extent. We had the debate last night. As I said on the entrance to your segment, and you talked about it there a little bit as well, you've been quite critical of President Trump as a Republican, and, you know, a number of Republicans have, but he's still doing very, very well in the polls. Let me go to what you wrote in Axios there. I believe it was last month, talking about President Trump, and that's when you were very critical of him in this Axios piece where you were interviewed, saying that basically the GOP is setting up for likely defeat in 2024 if they go with Trump. And the interview, I believe, aired on the radio and WCCO. So you're basically saying they're setting themselves up here if they nominate Trump. But he's way up in the polls right now, and he's even polling well against President Biden.
Yeah, I have to say, given President Trump's commanding lead in the Republican primary, absent the political equivalent of an earthquake, he's going to be the nominee.
Yeah.
And he versus Biden a month or two ago looked like Biden was going to win that. But I have to say, more recent polling has it much closer, maybe even tied in a couple polls with Trump with a small lead. And of course, it depends on whether you're looking at battleground states or the whole country. But it is going to be more competitive than people think. But I do believe that it's Trump v. Biden. Biden will squeak it out again, unfortunately, in my view. And I don't like those choices. I don't like either of the choices. I wish we could get another Republican. I think almost any of the Republicans on that stage last night could beat President Biden. He's a weak candidate. But unfortunately, the Republican Party doesn't see it that way, and they're going to renominate Trump, so it seems.
It's funny. That's not what the polling shows. I think the logical political conclusion is the one you're talking about, that a lot of people have been around politics for a long time say, yeah, these candidates would match up better. But the matchup one-on-one, Trump versus Biden, has actually been quite favorable for the former president lately.
I agree.
What do you think what do you think's leading to that?
Well, I think part of it is people are frustrated with the state of the economy. And frankly, President Biden's numbers are really weak.
Yeah.
I mean, he's not a strong incumbent. He's not a strong candidate. There's a lot of concerns about his, fitness for office based on age-related concerns. And so he's just not a strong candidate. And I think any reasonably strong Republican could probably beat him. But unfortunately, it's Trump. And I think he comes with so much baggage, it's going to jeopardize that opportunity. Now,
when he speaks in Arizona in a moment, as I said, the main theme of his speech is going to be these broad strokes about democracy and how dangerous President Trump is to democracy. The introduction, by the way, of the president is happening right now. Once he actually starts to begin speaking, and there's some content in his speech, we'll wrap up the interview with Governor Pawlenty and go to President Biden, who you're looking at there. So let's stay on this for a moment. So he's going to hit President Trump very hard here. He's been criticized, though, going to Arizona for not hitting the border, not visiting the southern border there, which is an issue that a lot of Republicans have brought up. Does that upset you?
It's terribly upsetting in the sense that we're a country based on the rule of law. If you want to talk about eroding democratic institutions and principles, one of the most paramount institutions and principles in that regard is the rule of law. And when you say we're going to look the other way and not do anything when it comes to lawlessness, including illegal immigration, that is itself eroding a democratic institution or pillar. And he should look in the mirror in that regard before he gives this speech.
Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find News Nation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of News Nation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.